Half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death, rode the 600. Forward the light brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade, was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell. Boldly they rode and well, into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabering the gunners there, charging an army, while all the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke, Cossack and Russian reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, why horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell, all that was left of them, left 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made, all the world wondered. Honor the charge they made, honor the light brigade, noble 600. Charge of the light brigade, Lord Alfred Tennyson. Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Mathew 10:16.
Welcome, First Church of Lacey and friends, to the inaugural Sunday night word. This is the very first one. So if you're watching, you're right at the ground floor. You're at the beginning of this thing, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm going to tell you two things really quickly. You'll see why I want to say them so quickly once I get to the second point. But first, what is this Sunday night word? We've seen a gap. We've seen, in times past, Sunday evening church is a thing. And it was certainly something that was, very impactful for me growing up. I really look forward to Sunday night service. And, as life has progressed and church has progressed, we feel like it's maybe left a little bit of a gap in this Sunday evening time. So we've been thinking about how can we get to the people and not intrude. We know life is really hectic. We've got an idea of these Sunday night word videos, and we're going to focus on a particular idea and structure. You heard a poem at the very beginning of this, Alfred Tennyson's Charge of the Light Brigade. And what we want to do is identify greatness of today, whether it be in literature or song, everyday life, something that it seems at our fingertips now. And we want to talk about, why are those things great? What do we call great? And every time I'll give you the spoiler now. It's always going to go back to biblical truth. There's a root of God's word and holiness in that. And, we're going to bring those things out, and we're also going to give you something to go into the week with. And we want you to be here in Sunday nights. We're going to try to do it every Sunday night at 7:00. And, it'll be a similar format that you can get used to. That second thing, the reason I'm talking so fast is, we are going to try to keep this to 15 minutes. We're going to try to keep it to 15 minutes. We are going to keep it to 15 minutes. So start your clocks. We're starting right now. No more introduction. We're getting right to it. What was the Charge of the Light Brigade? That you heard the poem by Alfred Tennyson at the beginning of this, and especially in England, this is a real hallmark of their pride in nation. Is this writer? He was a poet laureate for England for a good portion of his life, And it's a poem about what happened with this light cavalry division in the Crimean War. As you would probably gather from listening to that, it was almost unsurmountable odds. It was these 600 light cavalry, and they were told to charge an army. It was not suggested. It wasn't say, hey, this would be good. They were commanded, you do this, and they didn't hesitate. And they ran towards it. It was 2,165 people on one side and 600 light cavalrymen. Now, at the end of that, from listening to that poem, you realize as well, not all 600 came back. It was about 195 people out of the 600 survived. So well over half. They didn't get to hear all the great songs. They didn't get to hear this poem. They didn't ever know, that they were heroes that day. They were given a commission against insurmountable odds. And regardless of what looked like in front of them, they stepped forward and stepped forward and stepped forward. And it became a run. They galloped. And then we had this Mathew 10:16. And I thought these things just dovetailed perfectly. Behold, I send you out as sheep amongst wolves. I don't know that we'll get past the first word. It seems like the first word is almost like a throwaway part of that scripture, is that we're going to get into the meat of this idea about who is the sheep and who are the wolves. And that's probably accurate. That is that is almost the fulcrum of the idea of the passage. But that very first word, I think, carries a lot of weight in itself. And it should be talked about it kind of more full-throatedly. Is that what is Jesus saying to his disciples at this moment? Behold, look at this thing. I don't want you going into this unawares. No one halfway through is going to be able to say, I didn't know what I was getting into when I went under that water and I came up and I called myself a new creature. Nobody's saying this was a trick. He said, now hold on. Look at this for a minute. You're going against unsurmountable odds. And tomorrow, Monday, I have to say that many of you, I know personally, and I can talk about myself as well. There are many times where there are these battles that are in front of me and the odds seem so unsurmountable, unfair. How could I imagine victory for myself in this? And so I would be tempted to pull back. Ellen says, in spite of those feelings, which I'm sure every one of these 600 soldiers felt, they can do math. They can look at the 2,100 people and say, we're certainly outnumbered here, but we're given a commission. And that's what I'm here to encourage you to do on this Sunday night, thinking about tomorrow, Monday. I want you to look at those battles that seem insurmountable and stop counting. Stop saying why I cannot witness to that person again. They've never heard a word I said. I can't talk to my husband again. He gets mad every time I bring up God in church. I can't talk to the people at school that think I'm a weird. It's too big. How could little old me find any victory here? And I think there's the point. Maybe you won't. For 195 people, they got to come back. But for the remainder of the 600, the truth is they didn't get to see it. And I think that's what God is telling us. The promise is not that everything you put your hand to will turn to gold. Every witness that you said that it's just the weight's going to fall off from this. I've been waiting for you. It doesn't happen. It hasn't happened for me. The reason I'm trying to encourage you to re-engage what you think, things that are impossible is because it's not always about the outcome that you might see. It's not always about the victory you might be able to tally. It's only about it's the right thing to do, regardless of the outcome. Regardless if you're the one left on that battlefield, and you're the one who doesn't get to come back home, and you're the one that bears the scars of rejection, and you're the one that feels ostracized at school, or you're the one that feels like nobody here. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is do it because it's the right thing. Do it because it's the commission. Take pride in the fact that he trusted you to say, go. 600 shouldn't look at an army and run towards them. A newly saved Christian shouldn't look at his whole world and say, I can change them. God shouldn't have sent unlearned fishermen out in the world and say, turn it on its head. A child shouldn't affect its family with a conversion experience. A wife shouldn't lead her husband to the altar, and sheep shouldn't go among wolves. But nevertheless, God said, I send you out. Behold, look at it. Look at it. Change your expectations. Change your expectations. You might not ever see the fruit of your labor. Look at it. But regardless, one foot in front of the other, one step in front of the other. Take those things that you've packed away as impossible. I'm telling you, tomorrow morning, dust them off and say, regardless if it's impossible, regardless if it's an army, I've been told to do this, and regardless of the outcome, I'm going to do it because it's right. Stephen, he was a young man, and he was doing wonderful things. And the synagogue heard about it. And it wasn't just a few people. I wrote this down. It says Libertines, Cyrenes, Alexandrians, Asians, and Sicilians. All of them, an army. Okay? An army against this one young man. And he recites the entire Bible. I mean, the whole 50, 60 verses. He didn't just tiptoe in there. He ran at the army. He ran at the army. All of them. And when it was all said and done, at the very end of that, they picked up stones and they stoned him to death. This is sheep among wolves. Two beautiful things happened there. One, it says his clothes were laid at the feet of a young man called Saul. I'm not so fanciful that I think Stephen knew. I don't think Stephen knew that eventually we would win this war. I don't think he knew at all. He lost his life. And he never got to see the victory, but he did it because it was right. And that young man named Saul, we know, eventually became Paul, and he contributed most of the New Testament to us. Changed your life, and he changed my life because he ran at him. Because he ran at him. There was one other thing he did that I think is so poignant to what I'm trying to say, and then we're done. I hope we're close to that 15 minutes. At the very last, his breath, his last words, he said something so beautiful. Lay not this sin to their charge. This is how pure of heart that God is asking us to be. Even when we're losing, even when we're not going to win, even though we're not going to see it, and they're not going to hear us, and they're going to make fun of us, and they're going to call us names, ladies, and go, you're different, you're strange. What is modesty? Even when we're not changing their minds, his very last, don't put it against them, because at the very end, he said, it's not about me winning this thing. It's not about me 100 or 200 years or some last judgment being to come up and their sins would be laid against them. And he said, you did this to me and now I've won. Now I've won. This was not in that man's heart. He said, regardless of what's happening around, regardless of the outcome, it's still the right thing. It's still the right thing to share the gospel of love, even to the people that were rejecting him, and rejecting him by taking his own life. So you know what I'm saying today? Saying, bring it on Monday. I hope you're saying the same thing. Bring it on Monday. And if you dust off those things that I'm talking about this week, would you do me a favor and come into the comment section throughout this week and say, hey, First Church, I watched a video. You don't have to be specific unless you want to be specific. I'm all ears. I'd love you to say, hey, I dusted this thing off and I got back and I started running towards this. I witnessed this person again. I started praying for this person again. I had a promise and a dream that I felt like God gave me years ago, and I gave up on it because I thought it was fun. You know what? I'm reviving that dream. I'm running for it. I'd love to hear it in the comments. So I'm saying, bring it on Monday. Bring it on Monday. And I'll see you in 7 days. 7 days. I'll see you.